decades now, we've immersed ourselves in the Red Dwarf universe. And at its centre is the most memorable cast of comedy characters ever assembled.
It's 4 complete oiks in space. 1 human being, it's a hologram, a cat and an android.
It's the very classic sitcom setup where you have different personalities who can't escape from each other.
The crew got wiped out, you survived. That's charmed.
I survived to live the rest of my life with you, not charmed.
There is a great one-line premise at the heart of all of this, which is, what if the last human being left alive is a complete waste of space?
And that last man standing is unwashed space bum and curry connoisseur Dave Lister.
There's been a fire in here.
It's a small one. Put it out with me beer.
For goodness sake, Lister, that's terrible.
Don't panic, I've got another one.
He's just a lazy layabout. He's got no ambition, lives in the moment.
He is a slob who is obsessed with curry and lager.
Class.
You know, he's never quite been house-trained, let's put it like that.
He's Rimmer's arch nemesis. They always screw each other over whenever they get a chance.
Drop dead, Rimmer.
Already have done.
Encore.
He's loathed by Lister but loved by us. It's everyone's favourite smeghead, Arnold J. Rimmer.
Now hear this, because it's only coming once. We surrendered totally and without condition. Thank you guys.
He is probably king of the losers. He is the petrol for much of the comedy.
Rimmer is slightly troubled. He thinks everything is the fault of the world, but he's not higher up in the scale of things than where he is.
Rimmer really wants to be supreme commander of the universe. He ain't ever gonna get there.
If this funky feline was cream, he'd never stop licking himself. He's the cat.
Oh, 6 of my nipples are tingling. Ow! I've given pleasure to the world because I have such a beautiful ass.
This strange hybrid of human and cat who has the dress sense of Prince.
It's just a character who's self-obsessed megalomaniac.
I'm not here to help. Read my CV. Does not help. Does not clean. Will have sex with anything.
His warranty ran out yonks ago, but if you need a toilet unblocking, just call for Crichton.
If you took a butler and a French maid and Mr. Spock and let them engage in an orgy, they would out Crichton.
He's full of admiration for the human race. Morning, sir. And he wants to emulate them, and it's very hard for him because he's programmed to be just a service droid.
So that's the boys from the Dwarf. But how did our fantastical Fab Four and their intergalactic misadventures come to exist in the first place? To find out, we'll have to travel far, far back through a hole in the space-time continuum to another reality. The 1980s. A time of Maggie, miner strikes, and money. It was also a time when a couple of blokes from Manchester, Rob Grant and Doug Naylor, had established themselves among Britain's top comedy writers.
Before Red Dwarf, Rob and I were head writers at Spitting Image. We've been brought in to try and modernise it, so we had a sort of carte blanche to change it any which way we wanted.
They even penned an unlikely #1 hit. But for Rob and Doug, putting words into the mouths of rubber puppets just wasn't enough.
We wanted to write a science fiction sitcom. We'd done a sketch called Dave Holland's Space Cadet for a radio show we wrote called Son of Cliché. So that was our starting off point, which was basically a lone survivor of a space accident with his computer.
This is Dave Hollins, Stellar Trader Class D, calling Earthcom 7 Beta 7. I'm still alone on the Melissa 5. The others are still dead. I'm still 7 trillion light years away from Earth. Yesterday, we hit a space storm. Acid rain, fireballs, meteors, radiation. Brightened up in the afternoon, though.
We went off to my parents' cottage in North Wales where we wrote the pilot script of Red Dwarf.
That first script was conceived as a cross between Alien and The Odd Couple.
Obviously, the concept of the show is that steptoe and son scenario where it's two people trapped in a life together.
Lister and Rimmer could be two blokes on a factory production line, or, you know, could be anywhere, you know. But they're in this fascinating scenario in space.
What's the plan for the day then? Slobbing in the morning, followed by slobbing in the afternoon, then a bit of a snooze before the main evening slob.
If you just look behind the science fiction, it is porridge in space. It's how people get on when they're forced into a confined situation, and it's about those human interactions, and that's where the comedy comes from.
So Rob and Doug pitched their brilliant idea to the BBC, but at a time when most comedies were still very conventional, the Beeb turned it down 3 times.
Things were then looking pretty bleak, which is when Rob and I decided we would go in and we would try and pitch it to the then head of comedy, Gareth Gwenlyn. Gareth had an amazing track record. He'd done Fools and Horses, he'd done Yes Minister. But when it came to Red Dwarf, he just didn't get it.
His name got turned into a term of abuse on Red Dwarf. You're a proper Gwenlyn, you are.
You're a total Gwenlyn, do you know that, Crichton? Oh yes, Mr. David, sir.
But Paul Jackson, fresh from his success as producer of The Young Ones, recognised a good thing when he saw it, and knew a man in Manchester who was on the lookout for a new sitcom.
I wanted something different, something unique. And I was beginning to despair when Paul Jackson said to me one day, read this. I think I got as far as page 4, where the cat shimmied round the corner as the cat did. And I laughed out loud.
Hey, this has been a good day. I've eaten 5 times, I've slept 6 times, and I've made a lot of things mine. Tomorrow, I'm gonna see if I can have sex with something. Ow, yeah!
The most important thing is not the sci-fi, it's the situation the characters get themselves in and the quality of the comedy. And the comedy was excellent. I thought, this is it, we'll do it. And that's the story of why it came to Manchester and didn't go anywhere else.
Coming up, how one member of the crew was almost left behind.
We got a letter saying, thanks for coming along, but no thanks.
And the plug is pulled on Red Dwarf before it even starts.
If it's all to fall flat because of an electrician strike, I was absolutely gutted.